It is the AIRTEC Motorsport Fiesta ST240 Championship. They're heading round their green flag lap at the moment, so let's run you through the grid. Alistair Kellett, your championship victor from 2025, lines up on pole position for this one with Kasper Tomaszewski alongside him on the front row. Jack Sant and George Foxlow there on row number 2. We saw George's luscious locks enjoying the action trackside. Well, now he's in this one. Let's see what he does there from the second row of the grid. Graham Colfer is behind him on row 3, along with Gary Miller. Row 4 has James Pope and John Cooper. Then row 5 is Simon Horobin and Marco Ricci. Behind them, Harry Hayes and Sean Reynolds. And then it's Luke Waugh and Brady Pollock who round out the back row of the grid. 14 drivers total in this one. And sadly for Brady Pollock, not only is he at the back of the grid, but he also has a 10-second delay off of this start. We'll try and find you exactly as to why he has got that penalty. But either way, when the lights go out for everyone else, Brady will have to wait a further 10 seconds before he can go for a race start. Well, we look on forwards to our last sprint race of the day here at Anglesey, and the ST240s always producing exciting racing. Plenty of names to watch out for amongst this field, and it's always a difficult one to call. So many different drivers that could potentially take the race win in this one. Let's find out who it is going to be. Now, Mr. McEwen has enjoyed, courtesy of the Fun Cup, lads and lasses, enjoyed some lovely grub. Where's mine, guys? Firstly, thanks very much. Secondly, he's back in the box. Hello, Andy.
Given the size of the portion I was delivered, I suspect there is no food left. But Jamie Peters-Ennis, when I said I'll have a bit of everything, he really did take that literally. Thank you, though, Jamie, for the very rapid food delivery service, I have to say. Almost as rapid as the ST240 Fiestas, which are about to launch off the line. 20 minutes of racing gets underway, and there was a very slow start for Jack Sant. That creates a big squeeze in the middle of the field, and they were almost 4 abreast into the first corner. Jack Sant plummets down the order then in the blue and yellow number 86 car. At the front of the field, though, it is Alistair Kellett who gets the advantage into the banking for the first time of asking. George Foxlow, that was barging through on the inside of someone going into the second corner. John Cooper, that might have been, but it is definitely Alistair Kellett that leads the way around the right-hander at Church Corner. Slick tyres, a cold left rear tyre can sometimes catch drivers out through Church, but they're all through safely. It is Kasper Tomaszewski in second position as they make their way up the hill, but a real shuffle around there in the first couple of corners, John.
Yeah, what a start it was from Graham Colfer, but he's locked up into Rocket. He's going to go way too deep, and Colfer's off. He's held the slide well. He's going to rejoin the action. Joins in just alongside Luke Waugh there as they step back into the pack. But my goodness, I was just about to sing the praises of Graham Colfer. His race start was something else there, and the fact of he got that race start, any sane driver would have gone, oh, there's no space for me to go, I've got to back off. He just kept it floored, went in between two drivers and went, guys, if you close the door, we're going to have a massive crash here, so move out the way, and they did. What a start from Colfer, but sadly, he locks up there into Rocket, goes off-piste, and down to the back of the pack, sadly, for Graham.
Yes, he does. So that's a shame for Graham Colfer. Battle on here for second position. That's the 42. I thought it was Gary Miller. He's sporting some new colours this year. It's almost, and I don't know whether this is intentional, again, perhaps we can ask him this, but it's almost Dick Johnson Racing-esque, isn't it, for those who follow their V8 supercars, not called V8 supercars anymore, but you know what I mean, over in Australia. It is that sort of red, white and yellow paint scheme with a different sponsor's logo on it. Could be a coincidence, but either way, it's a good-looking car. George Foxlow's car isn't so good-looking, though. That's got a wing mirror hanging loose, I noticed, after his lap 1 antics in 4th place.
Yeah, we saw quite a bit of bodywork coming off down at the first corner on that race start, so seems as though George was one of those involved, and as you say, losing a wing mirror. Don't think that's going to matter too much. He always looks forward, does George, so he doesn't really need the wing mirrors anyway. Off we press then. Kellett's still leading the way ahead of Tomaszewski and Miller. Like you said, great start from Miller up into the top 3 and remaining firm, holding on to the coattails of the top 2. Foxlow just dropping off ever so slightly at the moment, but looking to scamper on off and catch these 3. But only way he's going to do that really is if they start to properly battle. Once again, 20 minutes on the clock for this one, so a little bit longer than some of the races we've seen already this weekend, so a bit more time to make things happen, but equally more time for things to go wrong as well. We'll see which way it swings for these drivers as we press on. Little thought of second place there from Gary Miller as they head through the top section of the circuit. No opportunities there though, and Tomaszewski holds on to P2 for now.
He does indeed, and is this battle just allowing Alistair Kellett to pull a bit of a lead? Not a massive one, but maybe a length or so for Alistair, who is starting to get away even more, actually, because they are now side by side for second, and Gary Miller comes charging through on the inside. So Gary, after, by his standards, a pretty poor qualifying session, is now really starting to come on strong. Is Tomaszewski running into some sort of problem? Because he looked little bit off the pace through the hairpin. Picks up the speed again now, heading down into the bus stop. So maybe it was just a slow run through the hairpin, just allowing Gary Miller to go, knowing that he's a bit quicker, and maybe now planning to tag along with Gary Miller and chase after the race leader, Alistair Kellett, who leads by just under a second. Kellett, who has been one of the starring drivers in this championship for a number of years, actually had a go racing in TCR UK a few weeks ago for the first time. Up at Crofters again. Foxlow loves that late lunge into the banking at turn 2 and nuzzles up alongside Kasper Tomaszewski.
It's worked well, hasn't it? They've both got a very similar exit. Tomaszewski on the outside line, though, as we head down the back straight. We'll head up towards Rocket once more, and Foxlow has remained firm there on the inside line. To be fair to Tomaszewski, though, he's hung it round the outside and they remain side by side up into Rocket. It'll be Tomaszewski with the inside line here and might just be able to hold on to third place. Foxlow's going to go as late as he dares on the brakes, though, to look to try and hang it around the outside, but Tomaszewski's done exactly the same. They're still side by side and now into the side of each other as Foxlow forces that door back open and finally gets the move done. That took nearly half the circuit.
Yeah, and a little bit of contact as well, but to be fair, his nose was always there. He never fell behind Tomaszewski. I think Kasper was hoping that if he turned in, Foxlow would back out of the move, but those who've watched George Foxlow race over recent years will know that was never likely to happen. George, with his flapping wing mirror, moves up into a podium place, so he and Gary Miller both moving forward quite nicely. Can they now make some inroads on Alistair Kellett, who traditionally, when you give him a lead like this, is virtually impossible to catch, but if anyone can, Gary Miller and George Foxlow might just have what it takes. They're very quick drivers. Gary's been a thorn in Alistair's side for a number of years, and George Foxlow getting quicker and quicker every season. I don't think this race is done just yet.
Indeed, more moves at the final corner. Jack Sant getting a move done on John Cooper. That was down at the final corner, so they've switched around as they now turn their attention to Kasper Tomaszewski. Potential for Tomaszewski to lose more positions here as he slips into the clutches of those two. And Sant looking very feisty. He's only just made the move there on John Cooper. Already he's cleared off by a car length or so and straight onto the rear bumper of Kasper Tomaszewski. Well, he knows he needs to get it done ASAP here as the top three continuing to scamper off. As confirmed on your screens there a moment ago, new fastest lap of the race was for your race leader of Alistair Kellett, a 1 minute 40.6. Now that was a good 6/10 quicker than Gary Miller, continuing to extend the gap at the sharp end as here is the squabble for fourth once more. Tomaszewski holding the inside line as Sant this time goes deep to try and hang it round the outside. He can't quite replicate Foxlow's move though, despite them being in very similarly liveried cars. He can't quite replicate the move and has to sit behind for now once more. He's going to look up the inside though, late on the brakes there into the right-hander. He's just about given the room there by Kasper, and they'll continue on side by side down into the left-hander. Who's going to be the bravest one there? We'll get on the dust on the outside. Will Sant, but he'll try and carry that speed all the way down the back straight.
Side by side for second as well. Look, George Foxlow asking some questions of Gary Miller now. He's on the outside line into the hairpin, the rear of the car snaking around under braking, but Gary Miller has that one covered, and George Foxlow's going to have to try harder than that to get past the number 42 car. What's going on behind? They're still side by side. Jack Sant still is on the outside line. He can't seem to buy a ticket to the inside anywhere, and he still hasn't got this move made. We know he's good on the brakes though, and he does now clear Kasper Tomaszewski heading into the final corner. So Kellett leads by now nearly 2.8 seconds over Gary Miller and George Foxlow debating second, whilst Jack Sant, who remember qualified third, so we know he's got good pace, is up into fourth position. Can he bridge the gap now, I wonder, to the two cars ahead?
Indeed, let's wait and see then as the battle between Miller and Foxlow continues to rage on. George still not quite able to find a way through, but he's looked very feisty, as Foxlow always is. And of course, to explain those liveries as well, both Sant and Foxlow running in ex-Alistair Kellett cars, ex-championship winning Alistair Kellett cars as well, I will say. I know one of them's a 25 car and one of them's a 24. Which way round though, I'm not 100% sure. Either way, both of them in championship winning cars, and that seems to be a good business model for Kellett. He jumps in, wins a championship, then sells it to someone else.
Yes, it's well, you would buy a car off Alistair Kellett, wouldn't you, though, because he tends to look after them as well, to be fair. In a championship that can be a bit rough and tumble sometimes, just by its nature. His cars usually come out the other end of the season in one piece, and we know that he's pretty handy not only behind the wheel but at engineering the cars as well. So Alistair Kellett, it's not a bad man to buy a Ford Fiesta off, and a championship winning car certainly will catch people's attention, I'm sure.
Generally, I would agree, but my last memory of Kellett here at Anglesey was him spinning off into the infield last season. He had a big off here, to no fault of his own, was contact with someone else, but that's my last memory of him here at Anglesey, is spinning off to the infield, not getting an ideal race result. Well, he's proven me wrong in this one, isn't he? Now almost 3 seconds clear of Gary Miller as he continues to battle with Fox. About half a second between those two now as we head on to a new lap of this race. But Keller, as you said earlier, give him an inch and he'll take a mile.
He will indeed. He is now 2.5 seconds clear, although was 2/10 slower than Gary Miller that time, interestingly. So again, if Miller and Foxlow left each other alone, I'm not even going to finish that sentence, but the gap, at least the last time around, did come down ever so slightly. Jack Sant, meanwhile, was slower than the cars ahead, so he's not able to, at the moment it would seem, to bridge the gap to the leading trio. Here comes the second place battle. Much wider line there into Church for Gary Miller. That's interesting. So Foxlow taking an earlier turn in, but look at the distance he loses on corner exit. Now, okay, he'll gain some of that back with a slipstream, but he's not quite going to be within striking range into Rockets. That's maybe something for him to think about, just tweaking his line through Church Corner, although he's forced a mistake there out of Gary Miller, who outbrakes himself slightly into Rocket. You can get away with that though, can't you? Because the next two corners are right-handers, and I don't think Foxlow... Oh, has he got a switch back actually? He's looking to the inside, he's late on the brakes. Gary Miller left him half an opening, and again, we know George Foxlow will try and take advantage of that. Doesn't have the momentum off the corner though.
Indeed, be a look for it, won't he? Up in the inside into the left-hander, but again, door closed by Gary Miller. Well, these two have well and truly signed themselves off to just battle for second place here if they continue like this. I mean, I think I agree with your sentiment of not bothering to finish the sentence about them working together, because it is not going to happen, is it? Miller continuing to defend nice and hard, and it's working, isn't it? It's working for him at the moment. He's keeping Foxlow behind, but for how much longer? We're only just over half race distance in this one. Foxlow has looked feisty from the off, and I think it's a case of when he sticks another cheeky move here rather than if. Sant now closing up behind as well, as he has well and truly dropped Kasper Tomaszewski down to 5th place, as we can't even see Tomaszewski in the back of the shot there. He's not there. Onto a new lap. Is he there at all? Is he leading the next train, or is he not there at all?
He is several places further back, so there's been a drama somewhere. Tomaszewski only just came through in 9th position, so Kasper Tomaszewski lost 4 positions on that lap. I don't know where or why, but he's lost positions, and that next group of cars are a lot further back than they were, aren't they? Graham Colfer is up into 5th, but has lost time to the leaders. Colfer's lap was about 2.5 seconds off the pace, so there's a story to be told there, I think.
Interesting. Of course, he had that lightning start, but went a little bit haywire up at Rocket on the first lap. Well, he's made it back up very nicely, has the 111. Of course, he rejoined the circuit side by side with Luke Waugh. He now finds himself a good 5 spaces clear of Luke, so has done a really good job since then. But yeah, like you say, just off pace at the moment. Bit of a topsy-turvy race here in the ST240s, but despite that, once again, Alistair Kellett driving clear at the sharp end as now we look back to this squabble. This is Horobin and Pope, isn't it, battling over 7th place. So they've got a little bit of a gap now back to Tomaszewski in P9, and John Cooper is starting to break clear of these two as well. He was only a couple of tenths clear as they started this lap, but it looks as though Horobin and Pope have turned their attention to each other. Might just be the opportunity here for Cooper to try and break away, and he's not got that long to catch up to Colfer. As a big late break there on the inside, way too late from the 47 of Pope, and he realised that as soon as it happened, didn't he? Dove to the inside to avoid the incident and did well there. That almost looked like a brake failure, didn't it? But got it stopped before they hit the exit. I think it was simply just an out-braking scenario there, sadly, but they did well to avoid the incident.
It was an inventive way. Oh no, I think he has got it. He's off again at the final corner. It is brake failure for James Pope. He's off onto the grass. Thankfully avoids the barrier and the other cars, but that was a brake failure. I was jokingly going to say that if I were him, I'd be telling the team it was brake failure anyway, because if that was a move, that was definitely not the way to do it. But I think there was a brake issue, and that car, if he's sensible, will be going no further.
It did seem an odd decision to dive to the inside inside line if it wasn't brake failure, but the fact that he then carried on, I thought, well, surely he must have something, but no, then quickly realised he definitely didn't have any brakes down into the final corner, and that one was mostly luck, I think, that there was no collision with another car. Well, he has now parked it up, hasn't he? He's out of the car, all absolutely fine, but that car not going any further. A shame there for James Polk. He was having a good race so far in this one, but out from, it was 6th or 7th place, wasn't it there? Out of the race he goes. Don't give me another giggle there for that one, Andy. But a shame there for James. But an odd one. You very rarely see two brake failures from the same driver, because usually the first one scares you so much that you stop. But he had another go of it. Quickly realised he didn't have any of that pedal and pulls it to the side. Thank goodness.
Yeah, that was very fortunate. Both occasions that could have ended up in contact, couldn't it? Here's the replay then. How much bigger could this have been? Lucky the car didn't go over, actually, as it went over the grass and the raised bit of tarmac on the pit lane entry. Miraculous it didn't go over, and it slid to a standstill. Thankfully, that tyre barrier is a long way back from the edge of the road at the final turn. That could have been an awful lot worse, but thank goodness he got away with it. Right, leaders come through, and something interesting starting to happen at the front of the field. Gary Miller is getting a second wind. He's taken a little bit of time out of Alistair Kellett, but he's 1.7 seconds clear now of George Foxlow in third. George may be asking a bit too much of his tyres early on.
Potentially. We know he's feisty. Definitely no tyre saving from Foxlow, and like you say, Miller able to just weather the storm from those multiple attacks from Foxlow over the last few laps. He's weathered that storm, and now breaking away once again. Sadly, it looks as though we'd lost John Cooper from this race as well. He's parked up down in the pit lane, and he is out of the car looking at the engine bay, which is usually not ideal for a driver. If you can see your engine, something's gone very wrong in the race, and he is out of this one then, dropping out. So we've lost James Polk, we've lost John Cooper now as well. We're down to a 12-car field in this one. Let's see how that gap changes between Kellett and Miller, though. As you say, Foxlow not one to save tyres, and he's now dropping off the back of Miller, but Alistair Kellett, very much a driver who's very good at saving those tyres. I think he'll know. He'll keep at this pace. If he starts to see Miller closing in, he'll just turn up the wick that little bit more.
It's the age-old problem, isn't it? Gary Miller, to catch Alistair Kellett, will have to take more out of the tyres, and then when he gets there, if he gets there, he's not going to have enough grip then at his disposal to make a move. And so with 5 minutes to go, Alistair Kellett very much has this one under control, I would say. Turns his way into the hairpin. Hazard lights flashing as they do on these and the Fiesta Juniors. It's not an issue, it's just the ABS kicking in. It's because these cars are, of course, converted from road cars. That's a safety feature on your road car. Most modern road cars now do that, where if you hit the brakes heavily, the hazards flash to warn those around you that you're slowing down, and it can't be turned off in Ford Fiestas these days. So the flashing of the lights, nothing to be concerned of, and the pace that Alistair Kellett has is nothing to be concerned with either. He's extending the margin over Gary Miller, with George Foxlow that time more or less matching Gary. Is Foxlow being caught by Jack Sant? No, not on that lap. A couple of tenths quicker was George in third place. Sant fifth, Graham Cole for sixth, and then the fight for seventh, Simon Horobin and Kasper Tomaszewski, who's got some damage to the front of the car. Now that, in fairness, was there before he lost all of that ground. The front splitter, I noticed, was quite loose within the first 5 minutes of the race, but it does seem to be getting worse.
Indeed, it does. Really flapping around underneath the car there, isn't it? Potential that might just break off. I've never seen one quite get that flappy underneath the front nose of the car, so we will see whether that just decides it wants to exit stage left and leave the chat and not crack on with the rest of the race. But it doesn't seem to be hampering Tomaszewski's performance so much in this one. Of course, we saw that one lap where he lost a few positions. We're not quite sure how that happened, but either way, now he's settled back into it. He's back on some decent pace, and now starting to put the pressure back on to Simon Horobin, who went a little bit wide there up at Rocket. Has given the opportunity here to Tomaszewski, who will look up the inside. Not quite late enough though, and room given by Horobin. They'll continue side by side on corner exit. A little bit of a ding dong, but all is fair in love and war as Tomaszewski looks back up the inside down the hill. Not going to happen this time.
Yeah, that was a little bit clumsy, wasn't it? I thought Tomaszewski was going to just fire it up the inside then into the corkscrew, but decided better of that. Is he close enough to have a go into the hairpin? Answer no. And so Simon Horobin retains 6th position. Luke Waugh is behind them in 8th, by the way. Luke Waugh is leading the AM category. I don't know whether we've mentioned this yet, but the field split into a Pro and an AM class. And the AM's for the less experienced drivers. Luke Waugh, I say less experienced, he's been racing for a long time, but not a professional racing driver. And he is running in 8th position. Second in the AM class is the 15 car, isn't it, of Marco Ricci, who's a couple of positions and about 4.5 seconds further back. So Luke Moore on course for a class win in 8th position.
Indeed, impressive stuff. Well, we continue on with this one. Just over 2 minutes left to go as the field continues to scrap over these last little extra points for the championship as we bring this one to a close. Still Tomaszewski putting the pressure on here to Simon Horobin, but at the moment not able to find a way through. Now we press on. Of course, I was having a little thought as well. Of course, we've got John Cooper out of the race. I was just having a look down at his car. Some clear damage on the front left. So he's clearly made some contact with someone. And my thought was Cooper not quite close on track with Tomaszewski at one point? Just a theory. Just a theory as to maybe why Tomaszewski fell down the order. We don't know. We can't turn back time and look at every point of the circuit. So we're just going with that theory for the moment. But either way, after whatever happened, Tomaszewski's been doing a very impressive performance to try and gain back some of those positions he lost, and of course some of those points as well. He'll be disappointed given his fantastic place on the grid, courtesy of his very impressive qualifying. He'll be saddened with this performance, but either way, he's done a very good job driving his way back up the order, and he's got more opportunities tomorrow to put it right.
Indeed so. Good battle going on here for 9th place, by the way. The 777, the grey and yellow car of Sean Reynolds, Marco Ricci, the all-red car behind, and then Harry Hayes, who is second of the AM drivers, trying to find a way back ahead of Marco Ricci, who's third of the AM drivers, because Marco is an AM. Hayes is also an AM, so this is for second place in class. Here, meanwhile, is Alistair Kellett, overall race leader, heading into Church Corner for the final time. They never were able to get any closer to him once he pulled that early margin, as so often is the case for Alistair. He's pretty much impossible to catch, and Gary Miller and George Foxlow gave it their best shot, but ultimately not going to be able to catch him before the flag. Alistair Kellett then heads towards Rocket for the final time, hits the brakes, and the pristine number 1 car is on course for another race victory in the first of the races here at Anglesey. Turns his way up towards Peel, and this has been a pretty flawless performance. Took his opportunities on the opening lap, got away from the battle pack behind him, and has never looked back.
Indeed, absolutely classic Kellett, isn't it, that? Just a classic Alistair Kellett race, leading from the 4, gets that start done perfectly, just presses off, opens up a nice gap, but equally doesn't feel the need to scamper off into the sunset, just keeps them all at arm's length, a couple of seconds behind, settles into pace, finds where that sweet spot is in terms of good pace versus not taking too much under the tyres, sits there and brings it home.
Yes, he does. One more corner from home then, Alistair Kellett, and yet another victory in the BRSCC's AIRTEC Motorsport Fiesta ST240 Championship. Turns out of the final corner, Alistair Kellett then is victorious at Anglesey, wins race 1 in the ST240s, with Gary Miller coming home in second, having seen off that mid-race challenge for a fired up and charging George Foxlow. What's left of his car comes home in third, with Jack Sant ruining that poor start, I think, in 4th position. If he'd have got away with the leaders, he very much could have been a factor in the battle for a podium place, but ends up having to settle for 4th ahead of Graham Colfer. Simon Horobin keeps Kasper Tomaszewski at bay, whilst Luke Moore is 8th. Sean Reynolds, 9th ahead of Marco Ricci. Luke Moore wins the AM category as well as a result of finishing in 8th position. Marco Ricci and Harry Hayes will join him on the Masters podium. Last car home, getting a cheer from the Jamsport team is Brady Pollock. He was getting a cheer from the Jamsport team every single lap, I noticed, down on the pit wall. There were about a dozen Jamsport team members down there giving him a huge cheer every time he came by, even though he was 15 seconds off the back of the pack. Alistair Kellett then the winner. Gary Miller has to settle for second this time, but did at least fend off George Foxlow, who was third. Jack Sant 4th, and Graham Colfer in 5th position ahead of Simon Horobin and Kasper Tomaszewski. The AM winner was Luke Moore in 8th, with Sean Reynolds 9th, and Marco Ricci 2nd of the AMs in 10th position. Harry Hayes 11th was the 3rd AM home ahead of Brady Pollock, whilst John Cooper and James Pope were both non-finishers. Pope with that dramatic brake issue, and John Cooper retiring to the pit lane mid-race. So the Anglesey circuit falls quiet momentarily. We do actually have another track session coming up soon, which is the